Hey everyone, this is Friedel Crazier, and I'm here with my recap and review of Raised by Wolves, season number 1, episode number 9, which is titled Umbilical. And yeah, I have been enjoying watching this show, and I also appreciate that HBO Max is releasing 2 episodes per week. The next week episode is supposed to be the season finale, and this show has already been renewed for a second season. So you just know that the season finale is going to end on a cliffhanger, and I have been enjoying this show. I did a written review of the first 3 episodes for the Geekery. The link to that will be down in the comment section below. I do feel that there are certain plot conveniences and tropes that the narrative follows, but overall, it has been a very enjoyable show. But yeah, the narrative does drag a bit, and I think that this show would have benefited from having a shorter order of episodes. I think that if this entire show was only 8 episodes, the entire narrative would have been tighter. Anyway, coming back to episode number 9. So, in the previous episode, we saw that Tempest had run away from camp and she had been following Mother. And she ended up meeting Mother, but Mother asked her to stay away from her because apparently Mother is pregnant, you all. And yeah, I guess while she was in the simulation, she got infected by the virus. And this entire planet has turned very creepy. Marcus is acting crazy, a whole lot of people are acting crazy, and I'm not really sure if Saul even exists. And I have to, as far as my opinion goes, I do think that Mother's creator, Campion, ended up sending her to this planet for a reason, so maybe this entire thing is connected to Campion somehow. Who knows? So the episode opens with Tempest, and she's outside, she's trying to search for food, and then she heard something in the shipwreck, and she goes in to check whether it's Mother, but turns out that it's actually the person who forced herself on her. And yeah, when this season showed that that person was still alive and he was able to survive the crash, I was like, yup, more tropey writing, and sooner or later Tempest is going to encounter him, and that's what happened in this episode. Tempest is of course angry at this person and she's ready to kill him, but then Mother intervenes, and Mother is like, no, Tempest, don't kill him yet. And it turns out that that Mother, because she needs to feed the fetus who is half carbon based, so it needs plasma. So Mother ends up transferring the criminal's blood into her in order to feed the fetus, and Tempest just has to deal with it. Then we end up going to Marcus, and yeah, or Caleb has gone crazy. For some reason, Saul has been talking to him, and yeah, I'm like, I don't like this. And I wouldn't be surprised if Marcus ends up dying in the finale, who knows. So he's trying to reach out to Saul, but Saul isn't reaching out to him. And then he comes back in and he ends up cutting Father's finger that was supposedly giving out Morse code, which was Saul is the light. And yeah, I have been waiting for Father to regain his memories, and that's exactly what happens. And you can see that Hunter is actually holding Father's finger. And Hunter is, because Hunter is not his father, but the father, the android. He's like, I need to fix you, and he ends up resetting Father, and he is able to use the Morse code that Father was giving out. Saul is in the light, that's the password. And yeah, Father is back, so these two have to decide to get out of here. And Hunter being able to reprogram Father made sense because Hunter, as we already know, has a high IQ. And I kind of understand why Hunter would want to help Father, because yeah, these Matraic people are crazy, especially with Marcus around. So everyone decides to get into the lander, and they are going after the kids, but Marcus is like, you know what, first I need to go to the temple because that's where Saul will talk to me. And Hunter is able to catch a ride as well because he's like, I know the kids, I'll be able to reach out to them. So while they're making their way to the temple, Mary is out with the kids. Holly and the other girl is with them, and this is where Paul and Campion talk about how Paul's pet mouse returned, and Campion is like, yeah, one of my sisters ended up falling into the pit, and she returned, but she ended up being evil. And Paul is like, no, my mouse isn't evil. Saul doesn't do things like that. So we are at the temple, and Caleb is still trying to talk to Saul, and yeah, Saul isn't talking to him, and he continues to grow more crazier. Mary ends up taking the children to the wreckage because she's like, we need to find food, water, something that can help us survive. As they're making their way, Holly, yeah. Holly ends up finding this tooth, and this tooth apparently belonged to Remus, and she talks about how Remus and Romulus were are abandoned, and they were raised by a she-wolf, and I guess that's what links to the title of this show about raised by wolves. But basically, I guess Campion and Paul are supposed to be Remus and Romulus, who will work together in order to form a new city for everyone. So they notice blood, and Mary is like, you know what, we need to follow this blood. And then we cut to Tempest and Mother talking, and Tempest is like, were you going to harm me? And Mother is like, you know what, my circuitry is a bit confused. I want to protect you, but I also want to keep my fetus alive, and to keep my fetus alive, I have to give it blood. And then the criminal that's behind them is like, don't listen to this necromancer, she's lying, she's not pregnant, she's just storing blood into her stomach. So these two are heading towards a place where Mother is like, it will be safer for me to give birth. They notice metal, it's shining, and as they're making their way there, someone is keeping an eye on them. And yeah, I have a whole lot of questions, and I really hope that the finale answers at least some of them. So these metal pieces are actually cards, which Tempest recognizes as tarot cards, and the criminal is like, no, don't believe in them. That's an atheist belief and all of that stuff. And then Mother is like, wait, I hear someone approaching, we need to hide. And they hide, and it turns out that it's Mary and the kids, and Mary takes out the gun. She's like, I'm going to kill the necromancer right here. All of the kids gather around her. They're like, please don't shoot Mother, please don't shoot Mother. And yeah, Mary realizes that Mother is pregnant, and Mary's like, how is that even possible? Even Campion doesn't believe it. And Campion is like, did you put another frozen embryo into yourself? And Mother is like, no, I made this baby myself. Then we cut to Marcus being crazy with Hunter, and he's like, Hunter, you must know where the kids are headed, right? You must know about their plan. And Hunter is like, no, Your Eminence, I know nothing. Marcus tries to burn Hunter, but it turns out that the Soul Temple isn't burning Hunter, and everyone is like, you know what? Maybe that's a sign that Hunter is telling the truth. So we cut to Mother and Mary, and Mary is keeping an eye on Mother. And Mother, of course, she knows that Marcus ended up going through surgery, and he changed his face, and they aren't really matriarchic soldiers. She's like, Mary, I know who you really are. And she's like, does Paul know? And Mary tells Mother that she ever tells Paul that she's not her actual mother, she's going to destroy the android. And Mother is like, why would you care for someone else's child? And Mary is like, you know what, it's called human empathy, something that you will never understand. So it's nighttime, the soldiers are sleeping, and this is where Hunter and Father end up breaking into the lander, and they fly off. So, and as Mother is trying to rest, she comes outside, and she goes to the tarot cards, and apparently there's something written on them, and she starts scanning the cards, and she ends up getting this visual where she's in the forest, and there are these hooded people around her, and then there's this weird alien thing in the box, and white fluid is coming out of the alien's mouth. Again, a whole lot of questions I need answers to. And then the visual ends, and the criminal ends up attacking Mother, and apparently it turns out that the blood fusion works both ways. While the mother was trying to nourish her fetus with the criminal's blood, it turns out that the same blood inside Mother ends up going into the criminal, and he gets a power boost, and he ends up hurting everyone, which I'm like, wait, so you're telling me that a necromancer can transfer her power into other humans? Which, okay, interesting. So the signal spike is picked up by the lander, and Father is like, you know what, let's go there. And everyone's fighting. The criminal is able to take down Mary, Campion, and the rest, and he ends up dragging Tempest outside because I guess he is ready to kill Tempest. Holly realizes that she needs to do something, and she is like, Saul, give me strength. So she goes out, and she is like, yo, you don't need to force yourself on Tempest again. Her soul is impure, and she doesn't believe in Saul anymore. And yeah, Holly is able to distract the criminal long enough for Tempest to take out the android's head and run away with it. And I actually thought that Holly was going to die, but yeah, I'm happy that she is still alive. So Tempest is running away, the criminal is after her, and Tempest is able to throw the android head away. Apparently, if the android head is like more than 10 feet away from the criminal, then the criminal's helmet will shrink and compress and kill him, and that's what happened. So yeah, Tempest was able to take her revenge on the criminal, which again, very tropey, so I'm not really sure how I feel about it. guards are trying to figure out what to do next. Marcus is still trying to get in contact with Saul, but Saul isn't replying to him, and he ends up killing one of the soldiers that was supposed to be on guard duty. And he's like, Saul, this is for you, a sacrifice. And no, Saul still doesn't answer him. And then father is here, Hunter is there, everyone is reunited, and mother falls down. And this is where she tells father that she's pregnant. And father is like, are you sure that it's just not blood stored into your stomach? And mother is like, no, I can feel it, it's alive, it needs plasma, you need to go and get me some blood. And father's like, you know what, I'll go find a creature for you to nourish the baby. And while he's out, Mary ends up giving a bit of her blood in order to nourish mother's fetus. And yeah, this is where these two bond, and she tells mother about how she wasn't able to have any more children. Years ago she had a miscarriage, and then she found Paul, and then she was very happy. And mother is like, you're a very kind person, even though you weren't able to naturally give birth to Paul, you are still a mother, and I appreciate that. So the kids are praying, and this is where Paul ends up hearing Saul's voice, and I'm like, oh no, Paul, I don't want you to turn crazy. So it turns out that the cards that mother was supposed to scan, Paul ends up burning them, because apparently that's what Saul wants. Maybe Saul doesn't want secrets to be revealed to mother. Then Saul goes in and he tells Campion that Saul is real and Saul isn't evil, and you need to trust me. And Campion is like, you know what, let's see. We have Marcus walking with the soldiers behind him, and of course the soldiers are beginning to suspect Marcus that something isn't right. And this is where the person behind him is like, wait, you aren't really Marcus, right? And Marcus is like, you know what, who cares? You guys wanted someone to believe in, and that's what I gave you, because Saul selected me. So it's better off that you all continue to follow me, and the other soldiers aren't having it. So one of the soldiers ends up hitting Marcus, and they fight, and this is where he ends up making Marcus swallow one of mother's eyes. And I'm like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just kill Marcus and end it? And yeah, this is where the episode ends. We see white fluid coming out of Marcus's mouth, and I'm like, uh-oh, don't tell me that a necromancer's eye can actually implant itself into the human body and transform that human into a new necromancer. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happened. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought of the episode down in the comment section below. Like I said, Raised by Wolves is a very enjoyable season. However, I do have certain issues with the narrative. I do think that this season would have benefited with a shorter episode order. And yeah, next week is a finale. I might end up doing a written review of the finale and share my thoughts regarding the entire season. I'm not really sure. Let's see. How are you finding the season? Let me know down in the comment section below. And until next time, stay happy, stay safe, stay blessed, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.